Well, hello, fam. This is me, Mary C, coming to you yet again with another video. And hopefully, I say this every time, but hopefully you can hear me. I did order a microphone for recording myself. However, I've gone through it a few times and so far nothing has worked. So I have an order coming in today, and hopefully, well, is today Wednesday? No, it's not coming today, it's coming tomorrow. So hopefully, when I get that Thursday and try it out, I'm hoping and praying that it'll work. I've tried several different types. I've gone on YouTube to find what will work with my iPad, took a few suggestions. The suggestions so far have not panned out. So I'm trying one more time to see if what I've ordered will work. And hopefully this will be exactly what we need. But anyhow, today I am going to try and fulfill a request of some of you viewers. You have asked me to share with you my dressing. Some people call it dressing, some people call it stuffing. I call it dressing because it doesn't go into the bird, whether it's goose or turkey or whatever it is. It doesn't go into the bird. It is a side, if you will, a side dish. So I call it dressing. So I had some requests to share my recipe with you guys. Now, here it's a little tricky, and here's why it's a little tricky. I'm old school, okay? So the way my mom taught me how to do it, it was not with measuring anything. We kind of eyeballed everything. We eyeballed it and we tasted it. So that's pretty much how we did it. But I'm going to probably do this in piecemeal. I'm going to try my best to stay close to the camera so that you can hear me. And when I say I'm going to do it in piecemeal, I'm doing it in piecemeal because it is a process. So you guys who already know how to do it, you know what I'm talking about when I say it's a process. So on the stove right now, I have 3 eggs boiling, and I'm going to put that in the dressing later on. But the first things first, I got the eggs boiling, and then I am going to put together the cornbread, okay? Because this is cornbread dressing. I forgot to say that earlier. So this is cornbread dressing. So I have already, I'm going to show you, see if I can show you. It's a little heavy and I don't want to waste it. But I don't know if you can see it. I don't want to spill it. So it's like pancake consistency. And I'm still kind of stirring it up. So this is my combination, my cornbread combination. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the recipe and the directions are in the description area of this video. And hopefully this will help someone. Hopefully I'll get it just right because what I'm doing, because we don't normally measure by cups and such, I have done it this time. So as I am putting my recipe together as I used to do it, I am taking the time out to stop, measure, and make sure that I got a measure that I can give you, and I'm writing it down so that I have it so that you can actually copy it and share it if you need to. So I've got my cornbread mix going here, and it is pretty much ready to go in the pan. So again, first things first, you get your eggs boiling, you put your cornbread together, get it all mixed up, and then I do a combination of, I grease my pan, and I do a combination of olive oil and butter. So I put in about 2 tablespoons of butter and about a tablespoon of olive oil. And the olive oil actually went into my mix. The butter is in the dish, and I'm going to put it in the oven, let it melt up. It's pretty melted right now. It's pretty melted right now because I had the pan in the oven beforehand. So I'm going to take and put the mix in there, and you'll get all the ingredients for the cornbread. in the directions. Like I said, I'm going to put it in the pan, put it in the oven, and I'm going to let that bake. And I will come back and let you know how long I let it bake. And because I normally I keep an eye on it. I go and do whatever I'm going to do. Come back, check on it, see if it's golden brown on the top. Voila, there's my cornbread. But I will keep up with the time so that I can tell you how long to keep it in there and kind of keep an eye on it. And then while I have the cornbread in the oven, one of the other things that I'm going to do, and I've already started, so I'm a little ahead of the game, is I have onions. Can you see that? This pan is not hot, so I've got onions and a stick of butter in the pan. And I will be chopping up, I don't know if you heard me, I hope you heard me. That's onions and a stick of butter, a whole stick of butter in my frying pan. And then I'm going to be chopping up celery. And this, once it's all chopped up, I already started with that, so I've got my celery, will go in the pan with the onions, okay, and the butter. And this, when I did the holidays, when I did the Christmas and I did Thanksgiving, I don't do those now. I think I probably mentioned it in some of my other videos. And one day I'll do a video and I'll explain why I don't celebrate those holidays anymore. But we still love the food, okay? So when I would put these things together on the stove and have the stove going, have the oven going, it was a familiar scent that told us that these were good times, if you will. So it was a good smell. You knew some good food was coming, and it's comfort food, good old comfort food. That's what it is. So I love the smell of celery and onions in the butter when it's coming from the stove. I love it. That's one of my childhood scents of, when I say scents, smell, scent, sense of feeling good and all is well with my soul from child up, okay? So anyhow, I will come back with a little bit more information when I get a little bit further into this and show you what I will do next. Okay, I'm back. Now, I mentioned to you that I have the celery, onions, and butter on in a pan on the stove. I am going to be using, and I apologize that I got ahead of myself. I am using, and this looks yucky, but I am using one of my pressure can chickens that I did back in 2019 as the meat for the dressing. So I already took it, opened it up, and dumped it out. So I have it in the measuring cup, and it measures to be about almost 2 cups. So I just wanted to come and show you that. Now, when it cooked, I didn't put any, I don't believe I had any broth or anything like that in it. It cooked in its own juices when it was pressure cooked, pressure canned. And I have a little bit of chicken broth from the jar that I'm going to use. So don't get rid of it if you can, and you're going to use your chicken. Don't get rid of the broth. You'll use that in the dressing. So I've got the chicken here, and I have the broth from the chicken that I'm going to use in the dressing. And then I'm also going to use, and again, all of the ingredients will be listed in the description area along with the recipe. I'm going to be using a can of cream of chicken soup, and I'm also going to be using a can of cream of celery, and any brand will do. And I'm also going to be using some additional chicken broth. And again, I will be measuring everything so that I can make sure that you have a real recipe to follow when you do this. So I have the bread in the oven. I'm keeping an eye on it so that I can time it. And everything looks pretty good. So when the eggs are almost done, and when they're done boiling, I will cut them up into nice diced pieces And then they will also go in the dressing. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but it's so yummy. It's so good. This is my comfort food that I love to go to. And I don't just do it for holidays. And recently, hopefully you had a chance to see my other video that I did with single servings of the dressing in muffin tins. So when I'm going to do the same thing with this. And I'm so used to, I come from a large family, and I'm so used to making a big pan of dressing that I have not learned to reduce it yet. So I just automatically go to the same size every time I go ahead and do the dressing. So if you want to make less, just cut it in half. For example, if I used 2 cups of cornmeal, just use 1 cup of cornmeal. I used 3 eggs, I believe. Instead of 3, just use 1. You just cut it in half if you need to make smaller portions. But why do that when you can put them in muffin tins and freeze them for later on? That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to make this big batch, and when I'm done, I'm going to freeze them for another time. So hopefully this will help you. Again, I'll come back when I'm getting ready to get my fingers all dirty and mix everything together. Real quick, just in case you were wondering why I have written on my cans, if you're prepping, most of you already know what this is all about. If you're not prepping, this is something that everybody should do. You should rotate your food out. So, for example, let's see this one here. This is a fairly new one. So I just got this one here, and put those in storage in my pantry. So the date on that is fairly new for that. But for example, this one here, this one says January 11th, 2020. Doesn't look like it, but that's what it says. So that's January 11, 2020. And so what we'll do is we will rotate these guys out. And I'll stop moving it so that you don't get dizzy because I'm moving it in and out and up and down. We will rotate these out. So as I take one out of the pantry, I will replace it with another. So that is why it has the dates on it. So anytime you pick up your extra canned goods, even your dry beans or rice packages, we just will take I was going to say a magic marker, but they probably don't call them that, but anymore. What is it? One of those permanent markers. And we just put the date that we purchased these guys on the outside, or on the lid, or on the paper. It doesn't matter. We just put the dates on it so that we know how old it is. And we know not to take one of the newer ones off the shelf. So we rotate. The old ones go up front. The newer ones go up back. And when we use them, we use the ones that are the oldest ones. So if you're not rotating, you probably should start that practice. So I've already told you to prep, to store up your food, get yourself some water, canned goods, rice, beans, and the whole works. And hopefully you've heeded my advice, and hopefully you have already started. If it's just 1 can, woohoo! That is great. That is awesome. 1 can is better than no can. If you got 2 cans, that's even better. So store up, babies. Store up. We're going to need it. We're in for a bumpy ride. I keep saying that. And I'm going to do another video soon. And I want to share some things that, I want to share some of my dreams that have come to me. And then I want to share some things that the Spirit led me to I don't like to say God told me to say such and such, because so many people do that. And I don't want to be in error, and I don't want to say the wrong thing. So I'm I try to be very careful with what I say. But I have some information, some warnings that have been given to me that I need to share with you. And some of them are not for the faint of heart, but they are real. They are what is getting ready to occur. It's about what's getting ready to happen. Some of the things that are getting ready to happen. So I hope that when I do, get a chance to do it, to tell you about those, that the Spirit is with me and will give me the words to say, and that I pray that when I do that, that you will have ears to hear what the Spirit wants to say, and that it's not me. I will be the vessel, but it will be the Spirit that will give the message. So anyhow, I got serious on you there for a little bit because it's a serious subject when I do get to it. And it will be soon, hopefully real soon. But anyhow, I will come back, like I said, when I want to get my hands all messy. So I'll see you soon. All right, here's the celery and the onion in the butter mixture. And you're just going to saute it until it gets really soft. Unless you like your celery a little on the crunchy side when you're dipping into your dressing. I like mine a little bit soft though, so I'm going to wait until the celery gets almost translucent, and the onions are translucent pretty much, and then those will go in the dressing. So I just wanted to show you my pan of onions, celery, and the butter. Okay, we are getting there. So this is just about ready to go in our cornbread, and I have taken the cornbread out of the oven, so it is good to go. And the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add, I'm going to take the celery and onion mix out of the frying pan, and I'm going to replace it with my chicken. And you'll see I have 2 forks in here. I don't like the big chunky pieces of the chicken, so I'm forking it using the forks to break it down. And when you pressure can the chicken, I'm going to tell you that chicken is so tender. It is so tender that you just take the fork and it flakes. It just flakes. It's just that tender. So I'm going to take and I'm going to add that to the frying pan. And I'm not going to even clean the frying pan out. I'm just going to put the chicken in, and then I'm going to add in a little bit of milk, and I'll give you the measurement for that, and the cream of chicken soup is going to go in the pan for the chicken mixture before I put that in the bowl with the cornbread and everything else. So I'm just going to, are you getting dizzy? Sorry about that. Sorry about that. So I'm going to go ahead and finish flaking up the chicken, and then I will be back. All right, here is this is my cream of chicken, cream of celery, and that little bit of broth that I had was about a cup of broth I poured in to this soup mixture, and then the chicken is in there as well. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to try to do this one-handed here, but that's the mixture that I have that's going to make this really creamy. So that is the mixture of the cream of celery, the cream of chicken, and my chicken is in there as well. And of course I left a couple of the celery and onion pieces in the pan because I didn't clean it. So there we go for that mixture. Now I like to cut my bread into chunks so it makes it a little easier. Can you see how the bread came out? It's not very good lighting. There we go. Is that better? So there's my cornbread. Normally if I did this, I would add a little bit of sugar. I didn't do it this time around because I know I'm putting it in the dressing and I don't like sweet dressing. So, but normally I would put just a little bit of sugar in, and I would butter the top of it. If this were part of a meal, I would do that, but I'm not going to do that this time around. So it's just going to be the dry bread. I'm not buttering it. And so you have the pan here, and I'm just going to start cutting it into slices or chunks, if you will, and it'll be easier for me when I get ready to, let me get my bowl and show you what I mean. So I got my big old green bowl here, and these guys are just going to go in. Make some room here. they're going to go into the bowl. And I generally will try to break it up. So you see me just take it and break it into pieces. But I try to cut it up first. And I did let it cool a little bit. So it's still warm, but it's not hot. So I'm breaking it up. You know, of course, you do this with clean hands. So you just break it up real good. It smells real good. And then once I have this all broken up, and I'm not, you're not going to have to watch me do the whole thing. I have things over at the table, and so that's why I'm kind of looking over my shoulder here. But I'm going to finish cutting up the bread and breaking it into pieces. I have, so far, I've measured out 1 cup of milk. I have 1 can of chicken broth. I have the eggs chopped up. I have my celery and onion mix here. All of that, plus my chicken soup, celery soup, and chicken mixture is all going to go in this bowl. All of this is going to go in this bowl. If the cornbread makes it a little dry and I need to add more liquid to it, what I will add is water. I'm not going to add any more broth or any more milk or anything like that. I'm just going to add more water. And of course, I will measure it out so that everything is as it should be. And then I'm going to add the spices. So I'm going to add in my sage. Sage is very important. So I'm going to add in my sage. I will put in some garlic, and I just use, in this case, I'm just going to use the garlic powder. So I'm going to put in some garlic powder and a little bit of pepper. And that's it. That's it. So pretty much what you want to do, a little salt. You just want to get it to the point where when you taste it, it's how you like it. I don't know how else to put it. Again, we didn't do any of the, measuring by, oh, you need a cup of this or a tablespoon of that. We just would put it in a bowl, mix it together, and we would taste it. We would eyeball it and we would taste it, and that's how we knew when it was good. With the cornbread, if you're wondering when the cornbread is done, when it gets that golden top to it, is one way of telling. But the other thing is, see, one of my toothpicks that I pulled out, is you use a toothpick. You do the toothpick test. And many of you already know this. This is for my newbies. This is for my beginners. So if you don't know already, you take the toothpick and you just slide it in to the bread. And if it comes out clean without anything gooey on it, it's done. So you just do the toothpick test on to make sure everything is okay. So everything here is pretty much good to go. So my next prep will be to prepare my pan. So I will take and get my muffin tins out, and I will get those ready to go in the oven, because once I get finished mixing everything together, I'm just going to scoop it all into my muffin pan. But you'll probably want to see what it looks like once it's all mixed together, and I'll come back when I'm ready to do that. You're going to have to keep me honest, my people, my family. You're going to have to keep me honest. I almost forgot. There is something else that I add to my dressing. I almost forgot about it. So here is my dressing, Here's my cornbread all crumbled up. I probably will crumble it up a little bit more, but for the most part, here it is all crumbled. Can you see that? And then what I'm going to do is I am going to add, and you can use any type that you like. This one here happens to be the sage and onion croutons. So I'm going to add these croutons to my cornbread mixture, and then I'm going to pour the broth in and the milk, sage, and everything else, and start blending it together. And you will add water as you go to make sure that it stays creamy and moist. And then you're also going to add the seasonings, the extra seasonings to taste. So what you prefer. Okay, but I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. How could I forget that? I have no idea. I have no idea. But I usually use some croutons. I don't know if I'm going to use the whole bag, but I'll let you know. But croutons, you need croutons. And I like sage and I like onions, so I'm using the sage and onions, but you can use whatever flavor you like. I'll be back. So far, what I have done is I have poured the broth in, and it has the celery in it, the celery mixture, the broth, and the milk. That's all that I put in so far. I have not put any of the seasoning in. And then I've taken my hands and I pretty much will knead through it until I get the texture that I want. So I break it down. I break it down a little bit more. My hands are going to get real messy again. I'm going to show you what I mean. So I just kind of take it. So we've got it. And I just press it down. And I roll it a little bit and I press it down. I pick up some more. So what I'm trying to do is I'm distributing the moisture. I am distributing the moisture throughout the mix here that I have. So now what I'm going to do at this point is once I get it to the I guess you could say texture that I like. So this is pretty good. This is pretty good. Although it's still a little on the dry side, it's still pretty good. So, and you can see that I've got my celery in here and the onions and everything, but it's still still just a little bit dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add water to it, and I still have just a little bit of water, but I won't do the water right away. And the reason why I'm not going to do the water right away is because I still need to add in the eggs, and I still need to add in my chicken mixture. Now the chicken mixture was still a little hot, so I wasn't going to put it in right away. But I will do that now, and I will add my spices as well and continue to mix it up really, really good. Once it gets to the point where I'm satisfied with the way it looks and tastes, because at this point I will taste it just to make sure everything is good. It's pretty good. Again, like I said, it's a little dry, but it tastes really good. It tastes really good, especially without the seasoning. I don't have any sage in it, no salt, no garlic, nothing, no anything. But it's still very, very good. So what I'm going to do is I have some of the eggs here. So I'm going to put my chopped eggs in, and I did 3 of them. If you don't like eggs, you don't have to either put it in or you can put in less. I did 3. I chopped up 3 boiled eggs, and I've got another, I've got more eggs over on the side. I'm going to bring those over. And then I'm just going to put the seasoning in, and you'll get all the measurements. And then when I get to the point where I'm satisfied and it needs to go in the muffin tins or the pan, because I think I might have enough for muffin tins and a pan. I told you, I normally do such a large batch of it. It won't go to waste though. It will not go to waste. So I'm going to go ahead and finish mixing this up. I'm going to put my soup/chicken mixture in, and I will water it as I go. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know how else to tell you to do that, is other than to eyeball it. If it feels dry, if it looks dry, you want to get a certain texture to it, then add water or add broth if you want to add more broth. But I'm just going to add water because I'm going to season it. It's going to be seasoned enough with the soup and the sage and everything else that I'm going to use. So I'm just going to use the water, add a little bit of water to it. So I'll come back. Okay, my darlings, I am ready to fill my cups up. So I like the no mess way of doing it. So I'm using the paper cups to line my muffin tin with. And I wanted to show you the consistency of, I'm off the camera here, sorry about that. I wanted to show you the consistency that I look for when I have my dressing to where I like it. Let's see if I can lift this up. It is fairly heavy. Can you see that? You can see that it's creamy. You can see that it's not dry at all. So hopefully you can see that. Okay. Hopefully you can see that. Maybe I put some in my hand. I don't want to get my hands all messy again now that I cleaned them off. Can you see that? It's good and moist. Good and moist. And that's what we're looking for. We want it to be good and moist. So all of the ingredients are in. Again, I am putting my papers, lining my muffin tin with papers. And then in the oven it goes. And I'll time that so that you'll know how long to keep them in the oven. Keep it in the oven. But for the most part, it's done. It's cooked. So you're just gonna, put it in long enough to brown the tops a little bit. And it's not even a brown. It's like a golden color. So we're pretty much done. I will bring you back once I take a batch out of the oven. How's that sound? So hopefully this is something that you can do. And hopefully you found it an easy task. And I'm hoping and praying that you're going to love the way it tastes. And it will give you some good memories like it's given me. So I'll come back when this is out of the oven. Here we go. Fresh out of the oven. We have a pan here. And normally what I do is, the big roasting pans, that's normally what I use. But instead, because I wasn't doing a turkey and the whole 9 yards, I just used a pan, lasagna size, I think that's what this is. Lasagna pan and my muffin tins. And I don't know if you can see that well or not. Now for the muffins, I didn't leave them in as long as I kept the lasagna pan, only because when I heat that up, they'll be the individual size. So I'll just heat 1 or 2 up at a time. This here, it's a little different because it's a bigger pan, so we'll probably munch on this first, and these will go in the freezer for later. So give me a second and I'm going to try one. So did you notice that one of the muffins was out of the muffin tin? That's because yours truly here took one out. So I'm peeling the paper from around one of the muffins, and it's moist. You see that? Just like dressing should be. And I'm just going to take a little bite. Give me 1 second. That was my timer to let me know to take it out of the oven. This is delicious. And in honor of one of my favorite YouTubers, I'm gonna say I wish you could smell this. It's so good. And I wish you could taste it. And that is in honor of the old Alabama gardener. He passed away recently. He was someone that I've watched for a few years now. And it hurt my heart to hear that he had passed away. So this is in honor of him. Anyhow, family, I hope that you use this recipe, and then you got to come back and let me know if you tried it out, how it tastes and how it worked for you. And I hope you appreciate how I was able to put this into a recipe, because it wasn't one beforehand. So I hope it works out for you. I really appreciate you guys. I love you all. Thank you for stopping by, and I'm going to finish off my dressing. Shalom to you. Until next time. Here's an added bonus. I forgot to mention, I pulled the bottoms. When you get to crumbling up the cornbread, if you have the brown bottoms on them like this, they're not burnt or anything like that. They're just brown a little bit more than the inside. And what happens is when you start crumbling them up, they will separate. Okay? And that's okay. What I will do with these is I'm going to dry these out. So I've got a whole container of them from the bottom of the bread, the cornbread. I'm going to dry these out, and these will be croutons that I'll use in another recipe. So that's one of the things that I didn't show you, but I wanted to share with you. So I just took the brown bottoms off of the cornbread, and I'm going to dry them out. Hope you like that tip.